from the blackest corners of your mind, they call, pulling you deep into shadow, twisting your senses, keeping you from sleep. It's time to face your darkest fears. This is Tales to Terrify. Good evening, children of the night, and welcome. We're only a week away from the start of our annual flash fiction contest. If you've been following along on our social media, Meredith's been dropping some hints on the theme, so you might have an inside track. All I can say for now is that we've prepared some particularly dark and fertile ground in which to sow your strange and haunting tales. Keep your eyes on our socials and your ears on the show for more details very soon. This evening, we have one tale for you, about the navigator of a pirate ship struggling to stay afloat against a tide of madness. Our story tonight comes from L.T. Williams. L.T. Williams can't seem to escape mountains, whether it's the mountain of his TBR list, the Appalachians where he grew up, or the Ozarks where he now resides. When not writing horror and speculative fiction, L.T. spends his time climbing rocks, hiking, playing board games, and searching for the Mothman. You can find him at ltwilliamswriter.card.co or in the nearest body of water admiring frogs. Children of the night, join me for L.T. Williams' The Navigator's Journal, a Tales to Terrify original.
May 1st, 1697. It's been 2 months since we last embraced. Keeping this journal, all of the letters I will give you the next time we dock in the same port, has kept me sane. But nothing can replace your presence. I miss you. I know you miss me too. Oftentimes, when I'm plotting a course for the rising moon, I'll stare at the stars and know, if you look up, our eyes will be resting on the same points of light. For a brief moment, I feel connected to you, and it makes my heart full. Do you do the same? I doubt it, considering I'm the navigator in this relationship, and I'm sure you have your own little comforts, your rituals. I imagine you keep busy being a quartermaster. How has your voyage been? Have the crew been treating you well? Mine has felt like an eternity, even though it's only been a few months. Is this how it's always going to feel when we're apart? If so, I think we will have to make arrangements so we can be together. I should have brought this up to you last time. I'm not sure why I didn't. Maybe I was scared you would say no. But I know now that you were waiting for me to ask. The two of us on the same ship. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Does your ship need a new navigator? I know my way around the heavens the way a cook does a kitchen. I'm staring out a window right now, looking at Pegasus float in the sky. If only I could float back to you. The shouting on deck. I think we're coming up on another ship, hopefully some Spanish or French galleon, ripe for the picking. Our coffers run dry and the captain is testy. I must return to my duties. But I will be thinking of you. Your one and only love. May 3rd, 1697. I have not slept the past 2 days. The sights from the ship, it did indeed turn out to be a Spanish galleon, are burned into my memory and will not allow it. I have seen cruelty, death, despair, but this was different. I was not prepared. The moment I stepped foot on that galleon, my stomach flipped inside out, and it remained that way until I was back on familiar ground. Even now, as I write this entry to you, my palms remain sweaty and my heart quickens. It is my desire to omit details of my experience, but I know that you would not want that, and so I will lay down the events here as they occurred, unfiltered. Perhaps getting my thoughts down on paper will let me sleep once more. Oh, how I wish you were here. Her sails were down, and we expected a chase, perhaps combat. Instead, the galleon meandered atop the waves at the mercy of the wind, not trying to outrun us, but rather drifting along without a care in the world. As we closed, we realized why. No one was working the sails. In fact, the decks and masts were devoid of all activity. Not a soul. We sidled up beside the galleon, pulled the rising moon close. We faced no resistance as we boarded, no shouts of alarm, no whistling bullets, no broadsides, no welcome of any sort. We simply walked onto the deck. The captain was dumbstruck. The quartermaster was wary, and I, for some unknown reason, was trying to keep my stomach on the inside. Others reacted in similar fashions, although most of them would never admit that the underlying emotion was fear. Dunworth was the first to notice the blood. The rest of us had overlooked it, assumed that the deck was simply painted red. But in a few places the original brown of the wood shone through. The entire deck was stained crimson with blood. We had yet to see any crew members, living or dead. Of course, it was possible that the ocean had become their graves. It didn't take long for us to find the first body. It was the galleon's helmsman, presumably, lashed to the wheel by hands and feet. Top heavy from bloat, he hung upside down, a puddle of blood pooling beneath him. Scraps of clothes clung to his body, leaving most of him exposed to the elements. The lower part of his jaw was completely gone, and his distended tongue, at least a foot long, swung in the breeze. Deep slashes crisscrossed his back, their origin a debate among our crew. Some suggested the marks had been created by a wickedly tipped whip. Others claimed that no whip could leave marks like that, and they had to be from some edged weapon. I was more concerned by who killed the man than their methods. Mutiny, most likely. But it wasn't exactly common for mutineers to abandon the galleon afterwards. Possibly could have been an attack from another ship, but there were no visible signs of damage to the hull. I could see the quartermaster was mulling over the same thoughts as me. We left the body there and turned our attention to the rest of the abandoned galleon. We found 2 more bodies. The first was below deck, flayed upon the top of a navigator's table. His skin had been pulled back, pins shoved in him like someone was marking a map. Something in me wanted to try to read it, figure out where it would lead us, but that was a ridiculous thought, only brought on by confusion and fear. It's easiest to default to what you know when faced with extreme circumstances. And what I know is navigation. It was only rational. Still, I studied his flesh for longer than I realized. I can recall parts of it even now. The second body took us longer to find, or rather, piece together. We saw the legs first, hanging out of the rigging above, dripping blood onto the deck below. Further up, the flag had been exchanged for a torso. How had we not noticed that earlier? Before long, everyone was compelled to join the search for the rest of the body parts. We tore the place apart, making mental notes of the goods we could sell, but staying focused at the task at hand. I'm not sure why we were so intent on finding the rest of the body, but even I joined the search with enthusiasm. Each arm was found jutting out of a cannon on either side of the galleon. Someone muttered it looked like the ship was waving at us. The head took us much longer to find. The crew was about to give up on the task when Ashcraft, the boatswain, thought to check the bow. The head had been shoved on the end of it. Its eyes had been hollowed out, and in their place were two compasses, neither of which pointed north. The captain knocked it in the water with an oar. We did the same with all of the bodies. The ocean is a fitting grave for any sailor. Within the hour, we were back on the rising moon. The Spanish galleon tied behind us. I thought it would ease my nausea some, but it persisted, albeit to a lesser degree. I felt for the men that had been selected to work the galleon. None of them complained as they were left behind, but I could see on their faces that they were unnerved. I was glad of my position as navigator, for they could not spare my presence on the front ship. I returned to my maps, plotted our course forward to a port to sell the galleon and its cargo. So, my love, you can see why my current condition is one of unease. I look forward to offloading the galleon. The captain doesn't seem to be concerned. He has been a fine leader, one that listens to his quartermaster and treats his crew well. So, for now, I will trust his judgment. He has yet to lead us astray. I hope that your ocean-faring endeavours are treating you well. I hope to see you soon. Only the sight of your smiling, sun-kissed face will rid these horrible images from my mind. The one who holds your heart. May 4th, 1697. We lost the galleon. No one knows what happened, not exactly. I was asleep below deck, so I didn't catch the beginning, but the screams woke me up. It was the middle of the night, and paired with a thick fog that had rolled in, we lost sight of the galleon. This didn't alarm anyone on deck, since the galleon was now crewed with our own sailors, and besides, it was tied to the rising moon. It's unclear how long we sailed like this, their ship a ghost in the fog behind us. But at some point, lights flickered in the distance towards the galleon, and screams followed. I think it woke everyone up. The deck was already crowded by the time I made it topside. They were all squinting into the fog, trying to find the source of the terrible voices. I've heard men scream their final breaths, and it reminded me of that, except somehow worse, more primal, more from the heart. The captain pushed his way through, snapping the crew out of their trance. He pulled on the rope and kept pulling. The slack never gave out, and eventually he held the other end of the rope in his hands. It was caked in blood. The screams continued through the night, changing position sporadically. It started from the stern, then would jump portside, then to the bow, and back around to the stern. We were being circled, but the circle wasn't being drawn continuously, but rather one arc at a time. No one slept. We were too busy watching, listening. To say the crew was shaken would be a gross understatement. It felt as if at any moment the galleon would re-emerge and pepper our ship with the might of a full broadside. I know how stupid that must sound, considering it was our own men that were operating the galleon. But I wasn't so sure they were on it anymore. At least, not alive. When the first beam of sunlight crested the distant horizon, the screams stopped. The galleon was nowhere to be found. The crew exhaled a collective sigh of relief. At that moment, no one seemed to care much about the loss of money, save for the captain. They were just glad it was over, as was I. Was it a ghost ship? A demon vessel? Have you ever heard of such things in your travels? I can't help but think about the souls we abandoned on that galleon, their distant screams still ring in my head. Soon I will replace them with the sound of your laughter, of your sighs. I cannot wait until we are reunited. The Sailor in Your Dreams. May 7th, 1697. The past few days have been slow on the water, but easygoing. No more ghost ships, no more body parts except those attached to us living sailors, no more death, just a deep blue ocean, albeit one that is opposing us with its currents, and a light salty breeze. The crew is starting to settle back in. We didn't lose enough people on the galleon to noticeably impact our ability to sail, but their presence is palpable. There is so much missing. I overheard the captain and the quartermaster arguing last night. They were doing their best to keep their voices level, contain their irritation, but I caught much of the conversation nonetheless. The captain was blaming the quartermaster for the loss of the galleon, saying it was his job to keep an eye on it. The quartermaster vehemently denied being involved in its disappearance, but he admitted he was glad it was gone. He said it didn't belong in these waters, that it was cursed, and that we should never have taken the galleon with us. In the words of the quartermaster, the captain was lucky it had become untethered, because if it had not, his capture of the galleon would have damned us all. Something clattered to the ground then, and a set of heavy boots marched across the floor. I thought the captain was going to strike the quartermaster, but no sound followed except hushed, angry whispers. I couldn't hear them anymore, so I returned topside, where I could instead hold silent conversation with the stars. If you'd like, I can teach you more about them when we reconvene. The firmament of creation has much to behold, and I believe they harbour many secrets that we have yet to discover. One day, you and I can explore the heavens together, guided by our love. I long for that day. Your distant stargazer. May 8th, 1697. The quartermaster was wrong. I don't think we've escaped the galleon's grasp. At least 2 of the crew didn't. We found them strapped to the main mast. Lancaster, the head carpenter, and Williams, one of the deckhands. Their arms were wrapped around the mast in a final embrace, gripping each other's hands. Blood ran down from their eyes, staining the deck below. They must have been dead for a few hours, but no one had seen them. The moon wasn't out that night, and they had finally been discovered when the sun rose. Still, I wonder how no one saw them earlier. We have lanterns, and there is always someone patrolling the deck. The surgeon looked them both over and couldn't find anything wrong with them except the blood coming from their eyes. It wasn't until a close friend of Lancaster bent down to mutter a prayer and noticed something was amiss with his eyes. They were wrong. Lancaster's eyes were green, but now they were blue. Williams had green eyes, someone chimed in, realizing what that meant a moment before the rest of us did. Now Williams had blue eyes. I couldn't help but think they were trying to see something that our own eyes couldn't. So they made an exchange. A strange idea, I know, but these are strange times. The surgeon patted the back of Lancaster's head, and his eyes, or more accurately, William's eyes, plopped onto the deck. The captain shouted at the gathered crew, wanting to know who was responsible. All were silent. They glanced at each other, no doubt wild thoughts of accusation flying in their heads. I was already compiling a list of who was vicious enough to do something so awful. One of the crew pointed at something wedged under Lancaster. The captain shifted the body. It was a bloody spoon. The captain snorted. He moved to Williams and found another blood-crusted spoon in his pocket. They had done this to themselves, to each other. I didn't want to see any more of this, so I left to consult the maps, recheck our course, anything that could distract me from the 2 wrong-eyed corpses that sat on deck. I stayed there until the crowd had dispersed and the bodies had been taken away. My hands shake as I write this. I know I will not sleep tonight, but I must try. My head feels like it is being tossed around in a hurricane and my eyes ache. At least they are still my own. Thinking of you, always, your hapless seafarer. May 10th, 1697. The quartermaster has left with a third of the remaining crew. When we came close to what looked like a small island, one I didn't have on my maps, I must note, he demanded 2 of the rowboats. He wasn't the only one that wanted off this ship. In the middle of the deck, the captain and the quartermaster faced off, crew from each side resting their hands on the swords strapped to their belts. I thought for certain there would be blood spilt. The crew that wanted to leave would have no doubt lost any fight, but it seems like they would rather risk death than stay on board. The captain spit on the deck, breaking eye contact. He turned and waved to the rowboats, stalking back to his cabin. Not a single word was exchanged. Soon after, the quartermaster and his men were floating towards the island with enough supplies to last them 2 weeks. These waters are travelled enough that there is a chance a ship will come by during that time span. If not, well, we are now sailing the rising moon with a skeleton crew. I must aid with tasks not normally required of the Navigator. I don't mind, as it is strenuous, distracting work, and it helps me fall asleep. Not that I like being asleep. My dreams are haunted with visions of decaying sailors and bloody skies, but my body needs it. Truly, my body needs you, now more than ever. I miss you dearly. Your lonely admirer. May 13th, 1697. All of our food is rotten, filled with maggots. Our water supplies smell of mould, and those that have drank more than a sip have taken ill. We had provisions to last us months at sea, but now there is not enough remaining edible food to last us more than a couple of days. Normally, I would not be too alarmed by this. It is never good to let stocks run so low, but we can always stop at a port and purchase more. But we haven't seen land since we dropped off the quartermaster and his band of sailors. The captain has started to ration food. I've tried to get us back on course, find us a place to dock, but the clouds have been so thick and constant that we haven't seen the sky in days. Even the sun struggles to penetrate the covering above us, casting twisted shadows across the deck. Something, most likely distant storm fronts that are producing these clouds, is also disrupting our compasses. For now, all we can do is sail and keep on the lookout for land. I am anxious, my love. I do not like being unaware of our position. This is my job, my life, and I am utterly useless. No, that is not true. It's not my life, just a small part of it. You are my life. I realize that now. If we reunite, I will do everything I can to stay by your side until our final days. When we reunite. I wish I could look up at the stars, know that you are looking at them too, but even that comfort has been taken away from me. It feels like the world is against us, but this will not stop me. I will see you again soon. I know it in my heart. The one who yearns for you. May 15th, 1697. The heavens have opened up to us once more, but have revealed a foreign sky. It is all wrong. I do not know these constellations, these stars. They do not match anything in my books or in my memory. Once I thought I located Ursa Major, but I blinked and could not find it again. The crew noticed my astonishment, my confusion, and turned their heads to the sky. Even with their rudimentary understanding of the heavens, they knew something was deeply wrong. We are nowhere. Perhaps we are treading water that has never been sailed before. If the heavens are different, surely so are the seas. I have spent my life gazing upwards, noting the patterns and placements of hundreds, if not thousands of stars, studying the way they move and how that relates to our tiny vessel floating the oceans. To look up and find heavens unknown staring back at me has shaken me to my core. What am I without the familiar constellations to guide me? Your lost navigator. May 17th, 1697. We found land. When we spotted the island, I didn't bother checking the maps. I knew it wouldn't be found on any of them. But our food stocks were now non-existent, and this was our last chance. The beaches did not appear to be made of sand, but rather a blackened sea glass. A mountain, much too large for the size of the island, jutted from its centre, low clouds obscuring its peak. It didn't look like a volcano, but its rocky surface shifted and rumbled nonetheless. It burned my eyes to stare at it too long, like someone was holding a torch right under my nose. A single dock extended into the sea far enough that a ship of our size could pull alongside it and not catch the sea floor. We tied in at the end of the dock and prepared to go ashore. In the past 2 days I have become quite ill. Some infection, I believe. So I do not join the away party. Instead, I watch them walk the length of the dock and disappear into a thick forest. A few others remained on board, but I was the only one that kept watch. Everyone else was too far gone to do anything besides stare into the ocean and quietly sob. A few hours later, the group returned from the island with smiles on their faces and full bellies. They carried with them a bag of rancid meat. I asked what it was and where they had gotten it, but they just continued smiling and chewing. The captain plopped a piece of the flesh at my feet. I picked it up, turned it over in my hand. I must admit, I almost took a bite, but I stopped when I noticed something stuck in the meat. It was a piece of string. I pulled it, revealing a piece of red fabric, a bandana. I counted the crew. 6 had gone ashore, but now only 5 passed around the meat. Miller was missing. I dropped the piece of meat and retched. Nothing came out, of course, which made it all the more painful. The crew laughed at me, mouths open wide with flesh and tendons stuck between their teeth. Someone patted me on the back. I stumbled away from their jeers, went below deck, where I remain now, writing this entry. I know now that I am the last sane person on this God-forsaken voyage. I should have left with the quartermaster, the one who misses your everything. May 18th, 1697. I'm beginning to think that I may never see you again. The last scraps of hope have been torn from me. Someone or something is on board the rising moon, eviscerating the crew. They must have snuck on when we were docked at that island. Or perhaps they surfaced from the sea, climbing the sides of the ship. I guess it doesn't matter to those dying on the deck. Is this what happened to the galleon? I'm not ashamed to say that I've hidden myself away, crouched in one of the empty food crates. I've never been much of a fighter, and my presence on deck would not change anything. A month ago, I may have rushed to fight with my fellow crewmates, but that was before everything. The screams have settled now. Footsteps drawing near. Something dragging across the floorboards. The bottom of the crate has been soaked through, but it's not water. The noises have stopped. I think someone is in the room with me. Oh God, I'm so scared. My love, May 18th, 1697, continued. I fear this will be my last entry. The creatures on board have let me live. I believe they are in need of someone with my skill set. They pulled me from my hiding place and dragged me onto the deck. I thought they were going to slit my neck, toss me into the sea, appease whatever foul gods they obey. But instead, they just pointed at the sky and stared. I followed their gazes. If creatures with no eyes have the ability to gaze, scanning the night sky, the heavens are still unfamiliar to me, but I think they are also foreign to our attackers. Where did these creatures come from, I wonder? We stared at the sky for some time. Eventually, I was pushed towards my mapping table. They had replaced the normal map with one I didn't recognize. One of the creatures, their captain, pointed at it with a slimy appendage. I think they want me to take them somewhere, and I'm in no condition to say no. I may expire from this infection before we set off again. I can feel it in my lungs, crawling through my airways, spreading through my veins. I realize now this may be no normal sickness, but rather how my body has handled the transition to this unknown world. We all react to stimuli in different ways. You were always the calm, collected one. You had to be, serving as quartermaster. I wonder what you would have done if you were here. No matter, I am here and you are not. I shall die as we lived, apart, longing for each other's touch. To hold you one more time would be enough. How stupid were we? The creatures have dropped to all fours, and 5s and 6s and 7s, and are prowling the deck now, whooping at the sky. I believe that is my signal. I am out of time. I hope I don't end up like the galleon's navigator, nothing more than a human map. I don't know where I am or where I'm going, but I will do so with you in my heart. Always. Your darling. Date unknown. I have been made whole, reconstructed in their image. It has been so long since I have written in this journal to you. Only recently have my hands shifted into something that could hold a writing utensil. But a day has not passed without you in my mind. Oh, my dear, I have seen so much, so many fantastical things. Creatures and peoples and places that couldn't even be conjured in your dreams or nightmares or by the greatest thinkers of humanity. It's all far too real for your sleeping mind, far too dreamlike for your waking mind. We exist in between. How wondrous it has been. You don't truly appreciate the secrets of creation until you have shed your skin, your preconceptions, and embraced what lies beyond the stars, beneath the waves. The ocean is more than just a mirror reflecting the heavens. We have been sailing for an eternity, but I know little time has passed for you. I hope your travels have been bountiful, but I know that is a remnant of the old me talking. Material things do not matter in the end, or in the beginning. But you still do. That part of me remains true, as powerful now as the day we first met. I'm having some of my associates deliver this journal to you. I apologize for the bloodstains, but it should be readable nonetheless. If you happen to catch a glance of one of the crew, I hope their appearance did not disturb you. They are really gentle souls, forgotten wanderers searching for a way back home, and they will not harm you. I cannot promise the same protection for anyone else they may encounter, however, but do not dwell on this. For anyone that falls by their hand, metaphorically speaking, will be taking one step closer to the universal truths we have spent so long searching for, contributing their equal to the firmament. But the universe has different plans for you. I have different plans for you. By the time you've finished reading this, our ship will no doubt be closing in. As the Navigator, I hold a certain status that I leverage to seek you out. The rising moon is in need of a quartermaster. Soon, oh so soon, we will embrace again. I will do my best not to puncture you with this new body. I have been practicing with some of the crew, but any physical pain you may experience will be overshadowed by the might of our love and the jubilation you will experience once you have been made anew. At last, we will be together forever. The one who will never stop loving you.
That was L.T. Williams' The Navigator's Journal, as read by Alex Weinle. Alex Weinle lives in a cottage just outside Cambridge, where he writes science fiction and narrates stories. His new fridge is bigger than the cottage itself, like a TARDIS, but containing far more calories. Thank you, Alex. Well, children of the night, the hour is late, and we've run out of tales to tell. For now. Tales to Terrify is made possible by the tremendous generosity of our supporters on Patreon and PayPal. Incredible fans like Lestle Baxter, Amanda Carrillo, Amanda Gottfried, and Orion D. Hegre, whose generous support keeps these lights on and flickering ominously. If you're not a supporter, head over to patreon.com/Tales to Terrify. You'll find all kinds of perks, like ad-free episodes, bonus content, and one-of-a-kind collectibles. Every dollar goes back into this show, and we appreciate your support so much. Want another way to support the show that doesn't cost you a cent? Head over to Podchaser, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and drop us a 5-star review. You'll not only put an unnaturally wide smile on our faces, but help new listeners discover our terrifying tales, too. You can show your love of the show out in the world with some Tales to Terrify merch. TalesToTerrify.com/merch will take you to our TeePublic store, where we've got a great collection of creepy custom and curated designs. Tales to Terrify is produced by Seth Williams, Meredith Morgenstern, Andrew Gibson, Crystal Hammond, Spencer Disparty, and myself, Drew Sebastini, with original theme by Nebulous Entertainment. Tales to Terrify is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Join us again next week as we're haunted by guilt and desire from more Tales to Terrify.